Hi, everyone. Hopefully there's some people tuning in. I'm Fiona Lowe, and I'm here tonight to talk about the Money Club. Oh, we've got some people coming. So it's absolutely freezing here in southern Victoria. Winter hit today with an absolute bang, and we have been, I'm sure it snowed on the mountains today. It's been absolutely icy. If you're just tuning in, you want to give me a wave leave a comment so that I know that you're here and I'm not just talking to myself. Oh, hi, Jessica. Lovely. You're first up. Terrific to see you. I bet it was cold where you were today as well. So I'm sitting here in my very chilly office with a heat pack trying to keep warm and my glass of bubbles because it's the launch day of the Money Club, which is gorgeous. Oh, hi, Anne. Good to see you. I can't wait for you to actually hold it because all this, oh, hi, Fiona. All this is raised. All the words, it's just lovely. And even the spine is raised as well. Hi, Caroline. Good to see you. Oh, Sister Sue's here. Hello, Sue. Emma. Oh, it's lovely to see so many familiar faces. For those of you who've just come in, well, thank you very much for the greetings and the release day things. I hope you've all got a drink. Cheers to the Money Club, officially launched. As I was saying before, it is freezing here. So I'm sitting in my chilly office with my heat pack. I'm almost tempted to put on the gloves. So, oh, hi, Vicky. Good to see you. And Rita. It's lovely to see all these familiar names. Yvonne and Wendy and Evelyn, Christine. Michelle, oh, lots and lots of you. So welcome, everyone. And I might just kick off and start chatting about the books. And if you've got any questions as we go, type them along and I'll do my best to answer them. So for those of you who don't know me, I write contemporary novels generally set in Victoria, although I've sent one in Tassie last year and next year it was in Western Australia. But I write about life in small towns, about everyday people facing social issues that many Australians face. And with the Money Club, I decided I always come up with a theme. And with the Money Club, the theme for this was what is need and what is greed and who decides and who draws the line between that. So people ask me where the ideas came for the book. And I have to confess that, and it's not a fabulous claim to fame, but I live in a regional city that has actually been hit by two of the biggest Ponzi schemes in Australia. And it's probably even a worse claim to fame to say that one of the scammers has actually stood in my kitchen and drunk our wine. But we didn't get pulled in. But the fact that this guy came into our orbit, it pretty much is representative of why Ponzi schemes do so well in small towns. And that's because everybody knows everyone and everyone trusts people. And so the networks intersect very easily. You're only a few handshakes away from anyone that you know. So I decided, if you don't know what a Ponzi scheme is, I'll tell you. So it's a sham investment, which means that no investing is actually done, but money is put in and the scammer uses the latter investors to pay the early investors. So it looks like they're earning money. But really what the scammer's doing is they're channeling the money into their own pockets to buy, luxury cars, and all sorts of things. So, for instance, the guy that stood in our kitchen ultimately was driving around town in a gold Rolls Royce. He owned the go-to restaurant of the day. He leased a multi-million-dollar yacht, and he had this flamboyant and extravagant lifestyle, all because, he said he had this, no-fail investment. And actually, Charles Dickens was the first person that I remember reading about a Ponzi scheme, and that was in Little Dorrit. And there's been lots. And I think if you say Ponzi scheme to Australians today, they'll probably say Melissa Caddick and her foot in a shoe and the fact that she scammed her parents. So, but she actually didn't rip people off as much as this guy in my town did, who, when he was arrested, $89 million he had stolen, and mostly from mum and dad investors. And to make matters worse, banks had actually lent people money to invest based on what the paperwork that this guy had produced. So even the banks believed him. And then 10 years later, there was another Ponzi scheme, and this time it was using a betting system. And although I wasn't aware of that particular scheme until after the guy was rolled, I heard a podcast on the ABC about some people who had right across the other side of my state had invested. And some of the things that they said in that podcast started spinning my brain to work out whether I would want to explore this. And the media tends to focus on the scammer and the rich lifestyle, and I wasn't interested in doing that. I wanted to look at the life of the people who were scammed. What happened? How did they get involved? And what happens when it all goes pear-shaped? And because really, if you lose your money and you maybe lose your house, it's not dissimilar from a natural disaster. Your entire world is turned upside down. And the thing about Ponzi schemes is, especially in small towns, is because it works on networks. And if your brother or your members of your family, a work colleague, someone that you really respect suggests that you invest in this scheme, and they're doing it genuinely because they've made money. Remember, the early investors make the money. Then you've got no reason not to trust them. So what happens is entire extended families invest. In my town, an entire section of a big factory, everyone invested. They all lost their money. So when that happens, your normal people that you turn to when something terrible like that happens, and other members of your family, they aren't able to help you because they've lost their money as well. So it's really awful. So I wanted to investigate that. And, and when the people who are making money, they're swanning around town. And then when they lose money, people are like, oh, they should have known. But the thing is, it's very easy from the outside looking in to say people should have known. There's a great quote that I love from a British psychoanalyst, and he says that trust is a risk masquerading as a promise. And I think that sums up exactly why people invest in these schemes. And the people are very charismatic. They're scammers. They're clever. They're charismatic, and the only big red flag is that normally the investment dividends are quite generous. But again, if someone's showing you that they've got money going into the bank, there's no reason not to believe them. So I decided to look at this from the point of view of two families. The family that is that's been scammed, and then the family of the scammer. So I want to introduce you first of all to Jack and Lucy. They're a young couple. Jack works as a fly-in, fly-out engineer, and he and Lucy have got a 3-year-old, and they've got a big mortgage. And he's doing she's a midwife, and she works, but 2 weeks out of 4, she's a sole parent because he's in Western Australia. And so they're very, very keen to find ways to increase their income so they can pay down the mortgage and so that Jack can start getting a job and live in town. So they are early investors, and it's a very exciting life because they're going to the races, and it's all very fun, and they've got shares in racehorses, and it's all looking fabulous. And Jack's parents are wanting to retire. And so Jack suggests that maybe they would be interested. So they do their due diligence and they decide to join. And one of the big reasons that his parents decide to join is because the parents of the guy, the scammer, Brad, that are best friends. They've known them for 30 years, and Bevan has been a financial advisor, and he's always giving good advice. So they're in. They access their superannuation and they're in. So even when life's going well, there's quite a bit of tension between Lucy and her mother-in-law, Jack's mother, Birdie. So when things are going well, they don't get on. So you can imagine what happens when it all falls apart. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers, and there's lots of twists and turns in this book. It isn't just the fact that something goes wrong. But meanwhile, what about Brad? Well, Brad's engaged to Izzy, and he and Izzy have been living the high life for a couple of years, and they just got engaged. Well, they got engaged about 4 months ago, actually. And but since they got engaged, things haven't been going all that well. And Izzy is really desperate. She wants to be more involved in the business. She's sick of being the person who hosts the events. You know, she can organise a party at the drop of a hat. She wants to be more involved. And she's tried all sorts of things. She's tried talking to Brad, who's been a bit distant. So the book starts, she has decided that she is leaving him. And that's where the book starts. So she's got her suitcases packed and she's waiting for him to get home to say, look, it's over. I'm leaving. You know, I've tried to talk to you. But while she's waiting for him to come home, 3 local men who are part of the Money Club, which is called Elite, and then there's the Uber part of the Money Club, which is Fortune, and that's the extra special section, and they turn up and they're looking for Brad, and Izzy's very surprised to see them because although they entertain a lot at home at the large estate that they live on, Brad takes all his business meetings elsewhere. And she says, well, you know, he's not here. And they're quite cross and angry, and they say that they're going to wait. But then the police arrive, and she immediately feels that he's been in an accident. And her first reaction is, God, I can't leave him now if he's been in an accident. But the police are looking for Brad as well. And I might do a little bit of a reading a little bit later on, just if we've got a bit of time, if you don't have lots of questions. But I've set this book in the southwest of Victoria. And one of the reasons that I did that was because I needed a community where betting and taking a risk was just part of their DNA. And down in the southwest of Victoria, a lot of Irish people arrived in about the 1870s. And they brought with them a love of horse racing, and they also brought with them the love of having a punt and a drink. So setting it down there was really important. But as I've probably, if you've heard me chat before, I don't tend to set my book in a real place, because if I set it in a real town, someone will say, there's not a service station on that intersection, you know. So I make my own town, then I can put churches, schools, wherever I want, race courses. But I do reference real places like Warrnambool and Koroit and the beautiful, beautiful heritage listed racing stand in Camperdown. So I knew that area, but it's always good to go with author eyes on. So my husband and I, and this was in 2021. Yeah, so we were still in and out of lockdown, but we headed off for the night, and I was very excited because we were going to go to the Warrnambool hot springs. If you've never been to the Warrnambool hot springs, that's definitely something to put onto the list. Anyway, we toddled down, and I checked out the beautiful heritage Camperdown racecourse. And we went to Koroit, and we walked up and down the main street and took lots of photos, and it's full of beautiful, beautiful buildings. And then we rolled into Warrnambool, and we went into the hot springs. We were having a lovely, lovely time. We came out 2.5 hours later to discover that Victoria was going into lockdown in 2 hours' time at 8 o'clock at night. And so the next day we had to belt home. But there's an Irish festival in the book. And so I went to the Irish festival, to the Koroit Irish Festival, to check it out for research. And they had, in one of the emails I got, it said there was a soda bread competition. So I thought, oh, well, that'll be a bit of fun. I'll have a crack at that. And I just need you all to know that you're talking to the 2022 soda bread queen, the champion. So it's the best sash ever. I always wanted to win a sash. I remember at primary school being very, very jealous of people who won sashes. So there it is. The 2022 non-traditional soda bread champion. So that was a hoot. And my youngest son is actually living down in Warrnambool, and he entered the competition this year and he won. So we're back-to-back winners. So that's a bit of fun. I've got a really good soda bread recipe if you ever want one. So I think research is a great deal of fun, and I really enjoy doing that. So does anyone have any questions about the book? Oh, you're jealous about me winning the sash, Emma? It is a pretty cool sash. So would anyone like me to read a little bit of the story, or will I chat more about Ponzi schemes? I don't want to give too much away. The book does start in the present, and then it goes back to about 18 months. So you see the build up, you see how they make their decisions and what they decide that they want to do and how it all plays out. And before things start to go pear-shaped. And then believe me, it isn't just one thing. You'll be quite surprised. You'll think, oh yeah, this will happen, and then you keep reading and a whole lot of other things happen. And there's been quite a few early reviews, and I'm very excited that people are saying that they kept turning the pages and they couldn't put it down and they didn't pick things, so that's good. Someone said, what methods do I use to do the research? Well, I always go to the place. I always go and visit. And then, so for instance, in this book, Birdie becomes a part owner of a racehorse. Sorry, not a racecourse. She becomes a part owner of a horse. And I have a friend who is a part owner of a racehorse. So I interviewed Kerry. Hi, Kerry, if you're there. She filled me in. She told me everything about how it works and the fact that winnings from owning a horse are taxed. You don't pay tax, don't quote me, I think. And she'd fill me in on fashion in the fields and all sorts of that. So it's great to have people that you can call on. I have another friend who's a vet, and I was just right. Sometimes the need for a research is you're writing a line and suddenly it's like, oh, I need to know about blah, blah, blah. And I have a friend who's a vet, and I said, I need something that is going to have made a horse lame and can't run, for the next few races. And she was able to tell me exactly what that was, which is fantastic. I have another friend whose husband actually works in a racing stable. So I was able to get the correct names for things, because I've done some horse riding, but I really don't know an awful lot about horse racing. I know more now than I did. I also talked to the Victoria Police about particular police procedures, because the police are involved here. There is quite a crime thread that runs through the book. So Anne's asked, how many pages is this book? I have to tell you, this book went in shorter, and it is a shorter book, but somehow it's still, I think they make it big print. It is 500 pages, but it's easy to read. And as I said, people have told me that, they've read it in a day, which is like, oh, it's taken me a year to write it, but they've read it in a day. So I promise you, don't be put off by the size. It's a quick and easy read. It's not going to be a slog by any means. Thank you, Belinda. Thanks very much. Yeah, I always like to I like to bring up social issues, and everyone's got an opinion. And I think sometimes we have opinions when we've never actually considered. We'd say, well, I would never have done that. I wouldn't have invested in that. So why did they? Well, they were just stupid. But it's not that straightforward. Life is full of grey. And so what I like to do is I like to show both sides, and hopefully, and exactly with need and greed, is it greedy to want to own your own home? Is it greedy to want to educate your children? Is it greedy to want to own a yacht? Is it greedy to want to drive a Lamborghini? And who decides, So hopefully by the end of the book, you might be thinking and have tossed up those questions. So Michelle said, read a little bit, please. Okay, well, I can read a little bit, please. I might just have to have a quick drink. So as I said at the start of the book, Izzy is waiting to leave, and I can't read the whole prologue. You can read the whole prologue yourself. That is actually online. So if you want to read the whole thing, I'm just going to read a section. So she's waiting, and she asks when the police arrive, and she discovers that Brad hasn't been injured, and the police officer's not here about the speeding fine that she's due to pay on Monday, and she's not here about the sponsorship money that Brad said he'd paid for the Irish festival, because this police officer and Izzy are on the committee together. When she realizes that, and local police officers bought a detective from Warrnambool, she's like, oh, and she's a bit discombobulated. So when the detective says, let's go inside, she's a bit rattled, and she goes inside, and the first thing the detective sees are her packed bags. Izzy didn't want to tell Mitchell or Brooke she was leaving Brad before she'd told him and returned the engagement ring. I'm just visiting a friend in Geelong, she said. It looks like you're moving out, the detective said. No, I've had a wardrobe clean out. Whatever my friend doesn't want can go to the op shop. Is Brad in Geelong? Brooke, the police officer asked. No, Izzy said. Where is he then? Said the detective. I don't know, she said honestly. I expected him home an hour ago. I think you do know where he is, the detective pointed to the suitcases. And you're going to join him. What? No, do you know if Brad took his passport with him? The detective asked. Izzy stared at him. Why would he do that? He only flew in from Ireland yesterday. Can we see your passport? The police officer asked. What the hell was going on? Did she have to show them? Was not showing them worse? Izzy's head spun, giving her nothing. So she fished the little blue book out of her backpack. So you are on the way to the airport, the police officer said. You take your passport with you to visit friends in Geelong, do you? The detective said. What? No, this isn't what it looks like. You're going to Geelong. We know. You're flying out to meet him, aren't you? You're going to a tax haven somewhere that where we don't share an extradition treaty. Izzy stiffened. She really didn't like this detective. I've got no idea what you're talking about, and Brad will be home soon, and when he does, I expect an apology. Well, you'll be waiting a long time for that, sunshine, the detective said. I understand you want to protect Brad, said the police officer, but he's a focus of a police investigation. Suddenly, the marble floor beneath Izzy's feet tilted, and she sat down hard on the bottom step. The chill of the marble cooled her adrenaline-fueled body. Am I part of that focus too? Well, you're a person of interest. This isn't happening. Ordinary people didn't find themselves being disbelieved by a local police officer they considered a friend, and yet Izzy was circled by the surreal sensation of starring in a television police drama. Brad was the focus of a police investigation. She was a person of interest. None of this made any sense, but a lack of logic didn't stop icicles of dread forming in her veins. Where the hell was Brad? But more immediately, what the hell situation had he left her in? So poor Izzy. Poor Izzy. So the police don't believe a word that she's saying. So yeah, Izzy's got to jump through a lot of hoops if she's going to survive this. Oh, I'm loving the people who are liking big books. I've decided that readers are you either love a big book or you don't like a big book. And I know certainly that sometimes when I pick up a large book, I think, well, do I have time to read this? And I might save it for a holiday. But it also depends on how easy the book is to read. And some books are more dense than others, and mine aren't dense. There's a lot of dialogue in this novel, which is why there's a lot of pages. I think it's dialogue heavy. So what am I lying about, Fiona? And thank you for people who say they're hooked. That's lovely. I appreciate that. I've had a wonderful day because today is actually release day. Today is the day it hit the shelves, although apparently hasn't reached Tasmania quite yet, but it'll get there. Although I have to say, Devonport Books do have copies because I saw photos of that. I think maybe Hobart hadn't got them yet, a little bit further south. I'm actually going on tour. So if you are in Melbourne or in the southwest of Victoria, look on my website or my Facebook page. I've got the events there. I'd love to see you. I'm all over the place. Oh, thank you, Belinda. Yes, I think it'd be a great TV series, but we just have to meet someone, who is interested. Yes, a bigger book is better value. That's very true. I was reading a book the other day on my Kindle, and I thought it was at the 3/4 mark and finished. And I realized it was an awful lot shorter than I anticipated. So yes, Coralie, it is on audio, and I thought it was a simultaneous release, but the audio is for some reason being released on May the 10th. So just a few more days to go, and then the audio will be out. And I have the wonderful Rebecca Macaulay, who has recorded my previous 6 books. So this is the 7th book she's done, and I think she does an absolutely amazing job. I am a huge audio book consumer. I'm a woman of a certain age that often finds themselves awake at 3 a.m, and audiobooks are fabulous for that. So yes, audiobook on the 10th is coming. So anyone else? You good? Could I write? Well, maybe write the screenplay. I need to find a producer who'd be keen to do it, I think, don't I? My next book for 2024 has a working title of The Accident, and I've handed that in, and the edits will come back to me in June. And it is about it's set in a small town in Western Australia, because I had a wonderful holiday and I fell in love with York in Western Australia, and I thought, I've got to set a book here. And it's about 2 women's lives that are completely upended in ways you won't expect by an accident. So where can you purchase a signed copy? Private message me, Charmaine, because I am going to be visiting a whole lot of bookshops in the next couple of weeks, and I will be signing copies. And so if I'm near where you live, you might be able to get a signed copy that way. So have I missed any other questions? Oh, there we go. Purchase a copy on the Better Reading website. So yes, it's available in print. And if you get a print copy, run your hands over it, because all this text is raised and it feels beautiful. It's available as an ebook, and it's also available as the audio on the 10th. So if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I might any more final questions? I think my time is almost up. So I just want to thank you so much for spending half an hour with me tonight and helping me celebrate. I spend a lot of time on my own in this office. And so when a book comes out and it's been a year or more in the making, and there's been definite highs and lows. If you see my TikToks, you'll definitely know about the lows. And in fact, I've still got the last book that I did was so tricky that I was even had to resort to the baking chocolate that's left over on my desk. So it's wonderful to be able to share it with readers. This is the fun stuff. This is the payoff for all the hard work. Oh, Jessica, that's great. I would love to see you at Warrnambool. Warrnambool gets a mention on like the 4th page. So we're flying the flag for the beautiful southwest of Victoria, and I'm hoping that it's going to be a tad warmer than it was today. So thank you so much for being with me, and have a wonderful evening. Good night.